There are about $20 million annually of Federal Transit Administration federal funds that go to public transportation throughout the state. It's generally divvied up by urban systems and more rural systems. One of the issues, with the way the state funds public transportation is, again, similar to the federal aid program. There are very little, if any, state funds that go into matching those federal funds for public transportation. And I know it is always a challenge for the local transit operators to come up with and find the match to avail themselves of the available federal funds. There are some other changes on the horizon depending on the census results that could have a really significant impact on some of the use of those FTA funds for public transportation. It is something we need to continue to monitor, but it is a system that continues to be stressed. And I know in the Seacoast area, in particular, there's a very robust public transportation system that I know would like to do more and continues to work to address those challenges. And finally, I won't get into it too much in the interest of brevity, but aeronautics, there are some facts and figures on the funding that we get. Federal Aviation Administration funding to support the municipal airports and the aviation and aeronautics projects around the state as well too. And again, kind of those projects for the airports and the aeronautics funding is also listed and contained in the 10-year plan as well. So to wrap up, I just want to point out that I've gone through, very top level some of the major issues affecting this update of the 10-year plan, but it is very much a draft. It is very much a work in progress. We've got a lot of good feedback as we've been out through these GACIT hearings. And we need your input here tonight too, so that we can make the best decisions going forward. I think you get the point that the funding situation is very uncertain. Not sure if it will be wholly resolved as we get through the subsequent phases of this 10-year plan update with the governor's office and the legislature. So that makes it even more important to identify all these transportation needs, both the priorities and the unfunded liabilities, so that we have a good base of information to make future decisions on through the legislature, and as maybe the funding picture becomes clearer in the future. So
thank you, Bill.
What I have.
Next, I'm going to have Mark Ambrosi speak to us. He's from the Stratford Regional Planning Commission, and he can discuss the regional priorities that they've been looking into.
All right. First, I'd like to thank Councilor St. Hilaire and the City of Rochester for hosting this meeting. We appreciate the chance to review the Planning Commission's role in this process for assisting with the 10-year plan. So I guess to start out, I'll talk about our actual process that we used this past spring. We used a grassroots approach to generate a clear picture of the current transportation system conditions and to gain an understanding of the changing needs within the region. To do this, we met with 19 of 22 communities and agencies, including Coast and Wildcat Transit, in the region to talk about 10-year plan projects and their priorities for transportation. We use these meetings also as an opportunity to talk about the federal aid program and the challenges that the state is running into, and I guess the nation's running into, and talked about the impacts on the transportation system in our region due to these reduced amounts of funding for the region. We also used a survey in combination with these meetings to really get a sense of what the actual priorities were for transportation within the region. And from that process, we generated basically a list of the priorities for the region. So to start out, the top priority for the region was safety. Came up repeatedly in a number of areas. Intersection safety was a huge concern for communities in the region. The issues cited from the meetings were high posted speed limits, poor sight distance, poor intersection alignment, lack of left-hand turning lanes, and levels of traffic that exceed the capacity the roads were designed to handle. Examples in our district include intersections along Route 125 from Lee to Rochester, where this year especially there have been a number of bad accidents and fatalities on the road. And we believe that factors that contributed to this were high speeds, lack of left-hand turning lanes, which increased rear-end accidents, and high volumes of traffic on the road, especially in peak hours. Another area, even I guess closer to home, is the intersection of Route 202 and Estes Road in Rochester. Just being an example of an intersection with poor sight distance, I think the speed limit's posted at 45, and the intersection alignment makes it dangerous to pull out there, so they're pretty frequent accidents. We also noticed that from some of the comments, compounding these design issues with the roads was the trend of using cell phones and other devices while commuting. This is resulting, we believe, in higher incidents of distracted driving and more accidents in the region. So another common issue throughout our discussions was balancing the need for throughput capacity on our major roads and the development pressures on those corridors. Land use development patterns along these corridors are turning the roads most appropriate for carrying high volumes of traffic into congested strip areas. This creates ongoing pressure to continually expand capacity, which is very costly, and clearly we have limited funding to do those expansion, and add safety measures on these corridors. Major arterials like Route 125, Route 108, and Route 11 would benefit from access management standards to maintain safe driving conditions and throughput capacity while promoting economic development along these routes. I think a couple examples of this. One success story comes from Rochester. They worked with District 6 from DOT on Route 11 to set up an access management plan, and this was done before a lot of the major construction that's planned for new commercial developments along Route 11. Another road that could probably use an access management plan or some standards in place is Route 108, basically from Dover right up to Rochester, where there's a lot of access points and there's heavy traffic on the road, a lot of commuter traffic. So related to the previous observation, communities were noticing a shift of traffic from major arterials onto local roads in an attempt to avoid the congestion. New technology, again, is making this easier, and people are noticing increased numbers of large trucks and through traffic on local roads not designed to handle those types of traffic. This decreases the safety and increases the cost of maintenance for municipalities to maintain these roads with the heavy trucks on them. One of the examples, again, from up in this area is Middleton turns into New Durham Road. And this is a dirt road, I guess starting in either Middleton or New Durham, but they've noticed a lot of commuters using this road as a cut-through to get to Route 11, a lot of times from Maine. And it's a town-maintained road. It's very narrow. It's partially dirt, and in the winter and spring, the roads are often in poor condition because of mud on the road. The towns are noticing this because it's costing a lot more to maintain these roads. They're having to go in there quite a bit and regrade and put down new layers of dirt. There's also been a call for safety improvements for pedestrians and bicyclists in our transportation system. There are a number of people in our region who walk or bike to work, to school, for recreation, and for exercise. Our region believes these modes of transportation have the right to safely use the transportation system. An example of where we're trying to promote these modes of transportation is in Somersworth, where they applied for a TE project a couple of years ago to improve the pedestrian and bicycle accommodations in the downtown with new sidewalks. It's also, hopefully making the downtown more livable, attractive, and, it could give, if there's more people down there, an economic boost to the area. All right, so after safety, the next big topic was funding. And first off, I guess from our meetings, the region does, and the communities in the region do recognize the challenge that DOT was in when they were creating this draft list for the 10-year plan. And it was made harder because of the loss of the state revenue, the state match. So, yeah, New Hampshire, we recommend that New Hampshire have some sort of designated revenue source for transportation. It's really important. It really helps out with the maintenance and getting projects into the 10-year plan. But the top priority for funding that came out of these meetings was really system preservation, so it was right in line with New Hampshire DOT. Communities are noticing that, you know, the most important thing they can do is maintain the roads because the cost of maintenance gets higher if you don't keep up with it. In past years, severe storm events drove home how important that preservation is. Repaving, culvert replacement, maintenance and operations funding all came up as top priorities. Some examples of areas that could use some maintenance in Farmington, or I guess just north of Farmington and Route 153. The road is in tough condition, and in Brookfield, heard that Route 109 is in tough condition at this point. Another big issue, again, DOT has brought up, is red list bridges. Weight restrictions, closures, one-lane bridges and detours erode the region's ability to compete economically with other areas and cause safety and emergency response issues around the region. Statistically, New Hampshire has the 11th highest percentage of red list bridges in the country, and Stratford County ranks worst in New Hampshire with 19.4% of the bridges deficient. And that's a statistic from this last summer from Transportation for America. Examples of some of the bridges in the region, there's a bridge in Milton on Townhouse Road that was a connector over to Lebanon, Maine that was closed this year. It was one of two access routes to the community that lives in Lebanon, Maine that swells to over 2,000 people in the summertime. It's a serious incident management issue, and it hurts the economic development of local businesses in downtown Milton that serve these communities. A bridge that is on the 10-year plan is in Farmington for the Route 153 over the Cocheco River. Another bridge on there that's a red list bridge is the Oak Street Bridge at the Rollinsford-Dover border that goes over the B&M rail line, or the Pan Am rail line, excuse me. Our transit providers are reaching the ceiling for available funding in the region. Further transit investment from the state will be critical for providers as we move forward. Additionally, programs like CMAQ are invaluable to our congestion mitigation and air quality are invaluable to the region. Wildcat, Transit, and Coast heavily rely on congestion mitigation and air quality funding for route expansion, new capital, and capital purchases. Any reduction in this program will result in services being reduced and/or a shift of cost onto students and the public from the region. Examples of projects funded by the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program are Wildcat's new route from Durham to Rochester that they're going to be starting up, I believe, next year. A coast project that they're going to be starting up this winter for the Spalding Express, which is going to be providing rides from Rochester down to the shipyard in Kittery. And the Coast North Bus project was funded by FTA 5310 funding, and that's for coordinated volunteer driver program to get elderly and disabled people to or doctor's appointments and other important appointments. The communities and agencies in our region rely on these competitive programs like congestion mitigation and air quality, transportation enhancement, safe routes to school, scenic byways, the Highway Safety Improvement Program, and the Federal Transit Agency's 5310 program. These programs are authorized by Congress, and in these challenging financial times, they're one of the few ways our communities and agencies can acquire funding to get projects onto the 10-year plan, and these projects oftentimes have the largest impact locally. Well, again, the Wildcat bus routes from Durham to Rochester. CMAQ is going to be funding the new park and ride in Rochester. The Lee traffic circle improvements have been